Welcome back to Dinar Flash News. The climate surrounding the Iraqi dinar has transformed significantly in recent hours, with the tangible wave of expectation moving through online forums and groups dedicated to the currency. Information has begun to spread with growing regularity, hinting that a crucial development concerning the dinar's valuation is now underway. Longtime observers of the situation are noting a burst of behind-the-scenes movement they interpret as signs the much-anticipated revaluation process is finally active. Based on these emerging reports, banking networks seem to be experiencing renewed activity, fueling speculation that the financial picture could be radically altered by morning. The story being shared suggests the waiting phase has concluded and the mechanisms for a major transition are now engaged, capturing the focus of global investors who have maintained their holdings with patience. Within just the past hour, a distinct uptick in speculative dialogue has occurred across various investor platforms, all revolving around a particular and thrilling rumor. The term "system go live, IQD rate active" has been echoed across many private channels, sparking fierce analysis and debate about potential activity within the global financial infrastructure. This sudden alignment of discussion points implies a shared conviction that a decisive juncture has been reached. Although these exchanges are happening in informal spaces, the sheer intensity of the conversation signals a profound degree of involvement and anticipation. Members in these circles are actively exchanging theories about the possible unlocking of new exchange rates, synthesizing data from disparate sources to form an image of a monetary system in flux. The source of this latest surge of optimism seems to originate from several digital communication hubs spanning from North America to the Middle East. These sources, which include encrypted messaging forums and private discussion rooms, are recognized for their concentration on currency speculation and theoretical cash-in scenarios. The dominant account circulating within these groups involves several major Tier 1 financial institutions, with names like Chase Bank, Wells Fargo, and HSBC cited repeatedly. The rumor proposes that internal screens at these banks are now showing newly activated placeholder values linked to the Iraqi dinar. It is critical to state that while this narrative is captivating to many, it presently depends on unconfirmed assertions rather than official government or central bank verification, adding an element of intrigue to the proceedings. In this speculative framework, the narrative outlines a situation where insiders allege the Central Bank of Iraq has discreetly sent preliminary rate indicators to correspondent banks. This alleged transmission is being viewed as a form of system testing, a required step prior to any public launch. The imagery employed is that of a monumental switch being thrown, signifying that the worldwide financial framework is operating in preparation for a change that has been the topic of speculation for years. This segment of the discussion highlights the technical facets of a potential revaluation, proposing that the foundation is being laid quietly before any public statement is issued. The notion is that the financial pipelines are being purged and evaluated to ensure they can manage new valuation parameters. A pivotal detail fueling the present excitement is the specific numerical figures cited in these discussions. The narrative alleges that the elusive new rate for the Iraqi dinar has appeared in the high single-digit dollar range on certain internal banking test screens. This particular point has energized analysts and traders within the community who are now scrutinizing ambiguous screenshots and sharing confidential tips in an effort to corroborate the claim. The reference to such a precise value adds a concrete dimension to the speculation, enabling participants to conceptualize the potential result of the event. While these figures remain unverified and part of a larger speculative story, their presence in the dialogue serves to amplify the drama and immediacy of the night's developments, enhancing the international scope of this narrative. A purported foreign exchange analyst from Dubai has been referenced in these circles, alluding to a specific trading band that was supposedly discussed in confidential briefings weeks ago. This detail implies the numbers now emerging align with previously rumored targets, giving a sense of continuity and confirmation to the current accounts. Moreover, the conversation has broadened to include the Vietnamese dong, with hints that it is being calibrated in parallel through international banking channels. This fosters the perception of a synchronized global monetary realignment where multiple currencies are being adjusted concurrently. The narrative maintains this is not simply a rumor but the first observable movement of this nature in almost a decade. To furnish context for these alleged developments, the narrative frequently steps back to paint a broad historical backdrop. It depicts an Iraq that has spent years diligently preparing the groundwork for a transformative currency event. This preparation entails enacting monetary reforms, stabilizing the financial architecture, and progressively aligning with international regulatory standards. In this version of events, the Central Bank of Iraq is credited with comprehensive digital modernization initiatives, including the integration of new financial technologies and the expansion of digital banking services. These efforts are portrayed as essential steps to satisfy the requirements of international bodies like the IMF and World Bank, positioning the nation for a return to the global economic arena. The story continues by attributing massive growth in foreign exchange reserves to Iraq, imagining them as exceeding $120 billion. It also suggests a strategic shift away from cash-based trade, framing these actions as deliberate prerequisites for a future revaluation. The narrative bolsters the sense of preparedness by citing rising oil revenues and referencing a future national budget denominated entirely in the local currency. All these components are framed as parts of a grand, meticulous strategy culminating in the dramatic moment currently being described. By presenting the situation as the inevitable outcome of years of careful planning, the story fosters an atmosphere of historical importance, suggesting current events are the reward for prolonged strategic effort. On the ground in Baghdad, the narrative describes the city abuzz with subtle yet significant indicators that something extraordinary is in progress. Scenes of late-night activity at the Central Bank of Iraq are imagined, with office windows remaining brightly lit long after standard working hours. The presence of additional security personnel moving purposefully around the perimeter is also cited as a sign of high-stakes operations. In this telling, unnamed staff members are supposedly informing reporters that teams are working to finalize reconciliation across international accounts before midnight. These descriptive details work to create an image of coordinated movement and quiet acceleration, as if the entire national infrastructure is shifting gears ahead of a historic change. Further contributing to the atmosphere of tension, reports within this narrative indicate that ATMs in central districts have flickered offline briefly for software updates. These interruptions are depicted not as technical malfunctions, but as symbolic harbingers of a large-scale monetary adjustment. Local news stations are reportedly airing vague segments about a new economic era, using language that community analysts interpret as coded hints preparing the public for an imminent currency announcement. All these elements combined craft a vivid portrait of a nation on the cusp of change, where every minor anomaly is seen as evidence of a larger, coordinated plan finally reaching its climax. The focus of the narrative then returns to the United States, where major banks are portrayed as quietly mobilizing for an impending event. The story introduces alleged internal memos circulating within certain Tier 1 banking institutions, placing branches on quiet standby. This phrase is chosen to evoke images of operational teams waiting alertly just below public visibility. Some customers in this account report seeing brief online system refresh notifications, which the narrative frames as possible foreign exchange table updates. These anecdotes, while unverified, contribute to the sensation that the banking sector is bracing for a significant update impacting account holders and investors. A fictional former bank executive is often quoted in these discussions to provide an explanation that reinforces the sense of coordinated back-end activity. This figure suggests that synchronized system flashes indicate new rate feeds being imported from central exchange partners. While such claims remain within the realm of speculation, they offer a technical rationale for the observations shared by community members. The narrative concludes this section by asserting that politics is no longer the obstacle preventing revaluation. Instead, it claims only timing remains as the final variable, an assertion designed to increase suspense while keeping the story's focus on financial system mechanics. The psychology of the final moment is a central theme in this narrative, representing a deeply emotional journey for the community. For over a decade, countless individuals have undergone cycles of believing a breakthrough was near, only to face delays and denials. Tonight, however, the atmosphere is described as markedly different, charged with a level of clarity and alignment rarely felt before. According to the prevailing sentiment, all symbolic indicators from central bank readiness to digital integration are finally pointing in the same direction. This convergence of signs is likened to a rocket launch protocol where every system must be green before ignition. In this imagined moment, the community feels they are witnessing the culmination of long-term structural preparation, not just another rumor. The energy is described as stemming from a convergence of positive indicators that appear more cohesive than ever. To reinforce this, the narrative introduces expert commentaries from economists representing different regions. One such expert, described as an economist in Baghdad, suggests the adjustment marks Iraq's emergence as a more economically sovereign actor. His commentary focuses on economic maturity and stability, proposing the currency is finally aligning with real market dynamics after years of reform. Another perspective is offered by a figure portrayed as a former U.S. Treasury analyst, who frames the moment as the execution phase of a long-term compliance roadmap. His comments hint the changes unfolding have been in motion for years, lending a tone of technical validation to the events. Additionally, a Vietnamese economist provides a regional dimension, suggesting reforms in Vietnam were timed thoughtfully alongside those in Iraq. This creates a fictional backdrop of regional monetary alignment and cooperation, reinforcing the idea the event is not confined to one nation but is part of a broader financial transformation involving multiple emerging markets. The narrative invites the audience to envision the dawn of a new financial era, painting a picture of what the next morning could entail. Listeners are urged to visualize logging into their digital banking platforms and seeing numbers that once felt like distant aspirations now presented as tangible values. This transformation is portrayed as a catalyst for widespread change within Iraq's economic landscape, leading to a period of prosperity marked by foreign investment and infrastructure expansion. The story describes Iraq becoming a hub for energy projects and technology partnerships as confidence returns and capital flows back into the nation. This vision extends to the idea that the revaluation is about a collective rejuvenation of national pride and global relevance for Iraq. It frames the shift as an era defined by opportunity, innovation, and stability. The narrative shifts into an inspirational tone, acknowledging the emotional endurance of those who have followed the storyline for many years. It emphasizes that each investor has endured uncertainty and skepticism, framing their persistence as a testament to character. This moment is used to highlight the universal theme of resilience, suggesting individuals tuning in are witnessing a validation of their perseverance at the edge of a historical turning point. Practical advice is also woven into the narrative, laying out a checklist for participants preparing for the imagined exchange process. Individuals are encouraged to keep their physical currency organized by denomination and to have valid identification ready. This guidance adds a sense of realism to the narrative's internal logic, reinforcing the notion the upcoming transition involves formal protocols. The narrative warns against signing contracts or agreements hastily, urging readers to review terms carefully and consult professionals if needed. This emphasizes discipline is essential even in moments of excitement and that proper procedure must be followed. Participants are further encouraged to stay alert for official communications from their banks and to avoid sharing sensitive appointment details online. The narrative stresses the importance of emotional steadiness, reminding listeners that prosperity brings its own set of responsibilities. The message highlights that the journey requires clarity, calm, and self-control. In the context of this unfolding story, these guidelines help close the chapter with a sense of grounded preparation, balancing the excitement of the imagined transformation with the discipline needed to navigate it wisely. Analysts within this narrative predict a revalued Iraqi dinar could rapidly boost the nation's GDP, attracting foreign companies eager to secure contracts in various sectors. A stronger currency is seen as a symbol of a stronger Iraq, stabilizing regional trade and encouraging long-term investment. The United States is also portrayed as benefiting from increased returns on past investments and gaining new leverage in economic partnerships. In this imagined moment, Iraq's rise becomes a catalyst for broader global economic growth, reminding listeners the journey was about vision and the courage to believe in a nation's recovery. Bank insiders in the scenario report the new rates are loaded but held under a specific protocol until global settlements finalize. This process is said to take place during overnight hours, inspiring the phrase "Millionaire Morning" by dawn. The audience is told they may see official confirmations from banks or the Central Bank of Iraq, closing the final chapter of the long wait. The narrative speaks with gratitude to those who held on through doubt, portraying this moment as the result of resilience rather than luck. Listeners are encouraged to recognize their strength and to use their potential blessings with integrity. Finally, it is crucial to reiterate that the reports and narratives discussed here are based on the current flow of information within the speculative community. While the excitement is palpable and the details specific, they remain part of a developing story not yet confirmed by official government bodies. The situation is fluid, and interpretations of these events are subject to change as more concrete information becomes available. As always, observers are advised to approach these developments with a balanced perspective, acknowledging both the intense anticipation of the community and the need for official verification. This report is provided strictly for educational and informational purposes. It does not constitute financial, legal, or investment advice, nor should it be interpreted as a guarantee of future currency movements or valuations. All discussions of rates, projections, and economic interpretations reflect publicly accessible information and professional commentary available at the time of publication. Currency markets are inherently volatile and influenced by a wide range of political, economic, and regulatory factors. Viewers and readers should always consult licensed financial professionals before making any investment decisions. Dinar Flash News assumes no responsibility for actions taken based on this content.